Hey folks, I believe we're live. Hi there, it's Laura Eisenhower. I'm here with my wonderful friend Lance Shuttler, who is the owner of Ascent Nutrition and EMF Harmonizer. I've done a few videos with him in the past about these products. I am a distributor. I use them myself. I believe in them. They work. And yeah, we're just going to get into other stuff first. And talk a little bit about you outside of these companies, because I mean, you've been a truther, for lack of a better term, for a really long time. You've contributed a lot to Stillness in the Storm. You are very, very aware of what's going on in the world. And I know you have a few words to share about not just the lunar eclipse, but also 5G and some good news in terms of that. And so we're going to, yeah, just kind of go into the eclipse energies because it's very world altering and world changing. Eclipses are really powerful. But before we do that, I want to thank you for being with me, and any words you want to share about yourself or even the companies.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. So yeah, I have been aware of this stuff that you've been talking about for several years now. And I came across your work about 10 years ago and really resonate with everything. And it's really been my purpose and my mission to help to awaken myself and awaken others as well, in a way that really helps empower people health-wise and consciousness-wise. So, years later now, I've started a couple companies that relate to frequency medicine and also then supplemental nutrition. So, all of these things are a really deep passion and interest of mine, especially astrology. I really like looking at astrology and how it actually relates to the human body and physiologically. And, I know there's a whole science of that in and of itself, but this eclipse that just took place, I mean, you've talked about this, Laura, elsewhere, and it's just such a massive time right now. And it's clear that the light is winning and that there's so many awesome, awesome things happening. The eclipses, as we know, they eclipse things out and they usher things out that are no longer serving our highest good. And so it's really interesting, just given everything that's taken place. And yesterday, how rare that eclipse was. I think it was an eclipse that won't take place like that for another 400 some years, and it previously 500 some years ago.
Right, the year 1440 was the last time we had such a long eclipse. And that's pretty wild. And it's interesting always to look at what aspects we're dealing with now and what was going on in the world when similar aspects or alignments took place in the past. Like the Pluto returns to the United States. Last time that happened was 1776. And last time Uranus was in Aquarius was right before the Second World War. And a lot of these different kind of conjunctions. I mean, it's been a long time. So as cycles repeat, the hope and goal is that we learn something along the way and we don't have to repeat it in the same way that we experienced it previously. And so that's why it's so important to pay attention to these changes and look at the energies. And I love that you brought up the health part of it, because the health part of it, I mean, that's what's being targeted right now. So if we can understand the shadow side of these signs and how the cabal uses the zodiac and uses some of these alignments to create sort of psychological operations, so they have a sense of what's going on and what the cycles are all about, of course, on a very profound level, they understand it. They can mastermind ways to create operations that will throw us off so that we're not reaching the higher potential. We're actually stuck in the more shadow element. For example, the North and South Node being Sagittarius, North Node being Gemini. Gemini rules the lungs. It rules the bronchi, capillaries, the breath, and oxygenation of blood. And look at all these kind of symptoms that we're dealing with, and the masking and the censorship. And I know I don't want to be redundant because I mentioned it in other presentations, but yeah, so that's kind of my 2 cents about, yesterday. And I'll talk a little bit about, what's coming up. But before I do that, I just want to keep hearing what your thoughts are. And I just want to show a quick share screen, if that's okay, of the medical astrology chart, just to give people an idea as we talk about the aspects.
Yeah.
They can kind of tune into the signs, look at the different organs and glands, and just, whatever it is that you see. It's going to talk about even more than that. So when we talk about the signs, you can pause when you replay this and really look at, okay, well, what organs are being affected and ruled? And then you can take extra care of those parts of your body. I used to have it worked out where I'd take supplements and herbs during particular times of day where like the liver element or this particular elemental would be extra amplified. And I used to have it all broken down, like between 10 and 12, this is when and I'm like, man, I'm getting super, but it worked. It healed me from all sorts of things. And I never had to really go back. But any other thoughts you want to share? And I'll just stick that up on your screen.
Yeah. So the Sabian symbol of where the sun was at for some astrologers, what they're looking at it at the time of the eclipse was something like the king of the fairies enters his domain, something like that. Mm-hmm. And the way that, I interpret that, and I know that others might interpret it differently, but it's really about coming home to the heart and really tapping into what is truth for you and what's going on in your world, and taking a stand for your sovereignty and for your rights, and really proclaiming what you want in your life. Yesterday I took some really big steps in my life, and it's just coincided nicely with this eclipse. And I just encourage people, even though it's a day past, you can still use this energy and put these intentions out there and take action in a way that's planting the seeds for massive, massive things.
Totally. The power of the eclipses lasts for a good 6 months. Full moons and new moons, usually the power of them lasts for about a month. So what we're holding and anchoring right now in this particular window between November 19th and December 4th, which is when we're going to have the solar eclipse, is a really, really profound time. It just really shakes things up. It relates to the nodal axis and our greater soul journey, not just as individuals, but as a collective. So the growth period we're stepping into is now South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus. But as we approach December 4th, we're going to be revisiting the nodal axis of the South Node Sagittarius, North Node Gemini. So we're revisiting some of those things. If you look at the energies of Sagittarius and Gemini, as far as what parts of the body it impacts, this is going to be the final piece of this cycle. So we want to gain a certain level of mastery before we move on, so that we don't have unresolved issues connected to these things. And so with your knowledge of nutrition, this is what I love. And maybe we'll do future shows where we can combine the nutritional element to the medical astrology element and help people make good choices about what to put into their bodies during particular transits or planetary alignments. What's that?
That would be awesome.
So with the Scorpio South Node that we're going to be moving into, and it's going to be really peaking at December 22nd or so, as you see, Scorpio rules bladder, urethra, genitals, descending colon, prostate gland, testes, sigmoid colon, nasal bone, pubic bone, red coloring matter in blood. How interesting. And yeah, so there's the organs, but then we know what the energies are. So it's interesting when we look at the qualities of a sign, and if we're not maybe in the higher octaves of that particular sign or the planet that's ruling it, we can end up having issues with the organs that it rules. So like Scorpio and Pluto also rules viruses and sexually transmitted diseases. So if we work with that and we look at maybe shame or guilt or trauma connected to maybe sexual experiences in our past, we can begin to create the transformations that we need. So it's a really important thing to understand. And then with a company like Ascent Nutrition that has so many different kinds of supplements, there's always going to be something to support every function of the body. And the North Node being Taurus, as you see, you can read right there, we'll want to be dealing with issues of neck, throat, palate, larynx, tonsils, lower jaw, ears, and you can read the rest. And it has to do with self-worth. Taurus has to do with our ability to create abundance. It has to do with self-worth. So maybe throat has a lot to do with the way we speak about ourselves or think about ourselves. And then as you see at the very bottom, Ophiuchus, November 30th, we're entering Ophiuchus season, and the sun didn't start to move through Ophiuchus until 2010, when there was a major timeline shift. And if you look at the properties of Ophiuchus, it's really about that Kundalini. It's really about bringing in the ether. It's ruled by the ether, but it's just interesting because it's very healing to that scorpionic energy if there's any wounds there. And because it takes us into the 0 point, it allows for purification, and it allows the collapsing of timelines and patternings that we might get stuck in, because it actually neutralizes a lot of the different challenging aspects and patterns that we might experience. So this is a huge gift ever since 2010 to have this particular sign get activated. It's also ruled by Chiron, the wounded healer. So we have to face our wounds and be honest and transparent about our wounds in order to be able to bring this great quality of ether 0 point energy into our lives. Or else we just stuff it down, or we act out these wounds and we just really don't get anywhere, right? So anyway, what are your thoughts on a lot of the trauma that's being lit up in the world right now, and how nutrition and a greater understanding of ourselves can help us to break some of those patterns, and the shame surrounding like not being perfect or having it all figured out? I mean, I don't know where that ever made sense. We're in a human experience, right? So
right. And okay, so I've been thinking about this for years, and actually just it's just become more clear to me recently on what is the perfect human diet. Okay, and my view is that there is no such thing for many, many, many reasons, and this, what you just talked about, Laura, is a perfect example. So we're moving through these different astrological signs, and we're being influenced in all these different ways. So how can we continually say that this diet is great and or this is the perfect diet for every person on this planet? We just know that's not true. And it's really eye-opening to see that information for people and myself, because it's really important to truly be open-minded and understand that, hey, everything is always changing. Our bodies are always changing. And so our nutritional needs, again, are always changing. In terms of healing the trauma and things like that, I mean, I have a deep interest, and I know you and I both do, with flower essences and essential oils, and applying those topically and taking the flower essences internally. It's to me, those are the first two things that I always suggest to someone who has gone through something very emotionally or physically traumatic.
oh yeah, totally. Especially like first thing in the morning, right? Before there's a lot of food or other frequencies that enter the body, or before one is out and about. Wouldn't you say the morning time is the best time to use those things? I mean, essential oils maybe all throughout the day, but like, what is your recommendation with like flower essences?
Yeah, so the way that I use them, definitely in the morning, because of what you just said. Like, you want your body clean and pure, or as clean as possible, so that those frequencies can then interact with the water molecules in the body, and it signals to those water crystals, hey, this is the information that's getting transmitted, and then our DNA through these water crystals picks this up, and then we are able to receive the information from those flowers. So something like that. But I also suggest to people, before yoga, before meditation, before sleep, any sort of like therapy that a person's doing, if they're seeing someone that they're talking to, that is a wonderful time to take those flower essences, because you can help process emotions in a more stabilized way and really work through what has happened and get closer to that healing. And I've benefited so much from flower essences, so much, and I know that they work.
Yes, I've used them
Yeah.
quite a bit myself. And I'd really love to sync up. I mean, I wish there was more time in the day, and sometimes it's the opposite, like, but just syncing up the medical astrology with the nutritional supplements. I used to just have these images of just being able to look at, okay, Saturn square Pluto, this supplement, this flower essence, and this particular crystal would be perfect. And then maybe send it to a person, but that would be a full-time job. And but that was always my dream and vision for a really long time. Maybe I'll come back around to it, and you'd be so awesome to connect with on that. Yeah. So that is all very cool. And, some of the neurotropics too, right? They really help regenerate the brain, because stress, I mean, it almost seems like a partial cause of dementia. I mean, it literally starts to do something to the brain. Too much stress, too much cortisol. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read anything about that, but
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you have a really great neurotropics supplement in Ascent Nutrition. So yeah, talk to us about what you know of that.
Yeah. So, when you're taking those herbs, the herbs are different from the flower essences, as we know. The herbs will definitely impact us more on a physical level. And certainly, like, if we're stressed and we're taking good herbs that can help to lower that stress, then, it it can help for sure. And in relation to 𝗏𝗂𝗶 specifically, that is a wonderful, wonderful herb that monks have used for meditation. People use it for cognitive enhancement, memory, recall, and all sorts of things. And we do have a supplement on the website that does have that in it as well.
Right. I was just thinking about, so, I mean, I think it's hard sometimes for people who absolutely vibe with all this. And then there's the money issue. But, people have to understand that we're talking about earth medicine. There are ways to obtain these things, whether from your backyard, whether from, I don't know, just a local herbalist can maybe teach you how to make a tincture. I mean, it's not all limited to just shopping on a website. I mean, this is what I love about you, because you're so passionate about the educational part of it, just about helping people. You seek out the best quality products. So it's really worth people's while if they do have the funds, but it goes beyond just, trying to make a sale. And we're going to talk about the products here later. So I don't mean to get into it, but, there's the educational factor, and you write some really, really amazing articles that help people to understand, the qualities of these things and to give people just, definitely more information and insight. And we'll share that after we go into kind of the next phase of this conversation, which is about the 5G. But before we shift gears, any other words you want to say about the eclipse? And I'll think if I have any myself.
I mean, I think that's it. I think the most important thing is just know that huge change is happening. I mean, we can see it everywhere. And the most important place to begin is with ourselves. And, everyone listening to your channel knows that already. I'm certainly not trying to teach anyone that. But it's the best thing that we can do right now is go within ourselves, find out what our truth is, what steps can we take in our personal lives to make our lives better and make the lives around us better as well.
Totally. Yeah, really well put. Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And I mean, because we're dealing with the end of a cycle where the North Node's been in Gemini, just really working on speaking your truth. It's not like once we move on to a different cycle that those energies go away. We're going to still have transits that pass through those signs. We still have our own natal chart that has planets that either are in one of those houses or in one of those signs. And if they're not, then you probably have attracted somebody into your life to give you those qualities, because you might have been born with just a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's what's so wonderful about the whole concept of unity consciousness. We have gifts to give each other and codes to give each other to help one another get into that 0 point, so that we're not looping in this wheel of time, this holographic time loop. So the zodiac is really helpful in bringing us to center. And with 12 pieces of the pie and 12 strands of DNA, this is how we rebuild our DNA architecture. And now with the 0 energy available, it can really, really accelerate our ability to overcome a lot of the patternings and be more open and willing to go out of our comfort zone and not be so polarized to a belief system. And this is what's so important about us coming together as a humanity, is that we are more heart-based instead of just in our heads about one another and forming judgments, or let's just stay in the heart. We all have something to show and teach each other, and we shouldn't have any expectations that somebody adopts our truth. It's not about that, or pushing it on anyone. It's about helping them to be sovereign and to stand in their own truth frequency, because in doing that, I feel is when we can function as a whole and rediscover our own wholeness, because we bring breath and life into what's been dormant and what's been unconscious, and we help each other with that. The only thing that we want to avoid is operating from a programming. Then we're just spreading the virus of the program, or throwing somebody's energy off, or just not bringing a energy in that is healing. It's a distortion that can create aggravation and frustration in people. So as long as you're being true to yourself, you are occupying and embodying really, really important energies. And that's your purpose. Every single one of us has a common purpose: to be the best version of ourselves, to just be our truth. And we don't have to do it any other way but the way we know how and know best. And developing that intuition and connection to higher mind is everything. So moving into the, Scorpio, Taurus, and just a lot of the different, aspects that we're going to be experiencing, the foundation that we'll be falling back on will be that plutonic transformative energy of Scorpio. It's a really, really good time to heal your sexual centers. If there's been any abuse in your childhood, any dark relationships and difficult relationships that wounded that part of you, as far as healing, to really pay attention to that part of yourself. And you might notice some of those organs lighting up or some weird symptoms lighting up that just come out of left field. And that's perfect, because when we have symptoms and adversity strikes, that's when the call to heal and transform has arrived and knocked on our door. It's nothing to fear. It's something that can absolutely empower us. And unfortunately, the system has taken advantage of the vulnerability we feel when we don't know what our body is saying. We don't know what it's trying to tell us, but we can develop this great dialogue and connection and get closer and closer to ourselves. And to me, that is what's going to be the great change, is cultivating this kind of relationship with ourselves, with nature, with nutrition, and with healing anything about our relationship with ourselves and our friends and partners and family. And where it's not possible, it's okay to have a boundary, but let's not lose the love frequency. It's everything right now. Because I mean, AI and transhumanism really requires people to be artificial and not be functioning from truth. How can AI possibly infiltrate a truth frequency? So let's just keep working on developing that, and drop the shame about whatever it looks like, however messy it is. So I just wanted to add that part.
Yeah,
That's kind of decided to come together as a discussion, so that's why I'm kind of talking a bit. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, it's amazing information, and it's true. Like, we do have to stay in the heart frequency, and the AI transhumanism agenda, we know it's real, and 5G is part of that, and there's been some really good things for humanity happen. I can share now. So the beginning of the end for 5G radiation, question mark. I put this as a question mark because obviously this is I do think it's going to come to an end, but there is something interesting about these towers, Laura, and I think you probably know, or maybe you've even talked about it, but I've talked to some people who are engineers in this sort of stuff, and they know that these towers can actually be used to transmit beneficial frequencies.
Right.
It's just a thing where you just, it's just a switch of what exact frequency is being emitted. So, these towers that have been placed everywhere, and that are wanting to be placed everywhere, maybe we can eventually use them as Tesla wanted to use them, which is to supply free energy and supply actual beneficial frequencies for humanity. So a few things that are good that happened is that, first, some people in a town in Maryland, they reclaimed their power, and they were able to completely, the city council agreed with them and said, hey, yes, we're not going to put in these 3 cell towers here. And, it's a small town, it's only 3 cell towers, but it's the act that counts. And that's what's most important. And Bobby Kennedy from Children's Health Defense, they do an awesome job putting out this information, keeping up to date with it. There was a recent study that came out showing even more that 5G impacts negatively human life, animal life, plant life, all biological life. It negatively impacts us, and it's very, very harmful. And, I'm speaking to the choir. Most people know that, but it's, just good that this information continues to get out there, and that good things are actually happening. This is important for people to know that we are reclaiming our power, and, it's a great step forward.
Truly.
Yeah, and another thing that happened that's really, really huge, and I think that this might be a domino that cascades in a really big way, is AT&T and Verizon are delaying their 5G rollout till at least January 5th. We'll see what the timelines end up being, but the reason is because the Federal Aviation Administration raised major concerns over their pilots having interference issues and safety concern issues. So, the good news is that these big tech and big communication organizations and companies are at least pausing briefly. There could be all sorts of agendas behind that. We're both aware of that, but nonetheless, this is, being brought to the mainstream. This is on the Wall Street Journal, and this conversation is happening more and more. And as we know with the pilots right now, so many of them going on strike, many of them being injured by what's happening. The fact that more and more attention is being placed right here with the pilots and the airlines, this is a very, very good thing.
Right. And it's like, it's not like it's going to happen all over the planet all at the same time. Like we're seeing in Australia, we're seeing the most extreme mandates and lockdowns. It hasn't quite reached that full capacity in other parts of the world, but being able to see where things hit first can help us to get prepared for what might be to come, and then go back and assist those that are in the more extreme kind of situations. And this is how I feel like, we're needing to operate. So if we see the 5G turn on and the effects of it, it's going to amp up just the collective's willpower to not allow these technologies to continue and to switch off whatever was turned on and turn it around and turn it right. I know it's a lot more than that, but our voices are everything. I mean, it is to me the greater power, what we share as a collective, what we agree upon as a collective, and how we unify in order to create the non-consent and stand in our sovereignty. So anyway, keep going. And then I have something to read about the 5G that is totally complementary to what you're saying. So keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's just obviously many studies right here. This article, Americans for Responsible Tech, this organization showing 100 or 1,000 scientific studies on the effects of EMFs. We know that's true. Dr. Martin Pall, who is like perhaps one of the foremost experts on 5G and EMF radiation, he wrote this 90-page document laying out the 8 major ways. And this isn't just the only 8 ways that EMFs affect us, but 8 major ways. So, you're talking about Scorpio and like the sex glands and sex hormones and things like that. 5G and EMFs lower the production of these sex hormones, damages DNA. There's 15 different mechanisms proven through which EMFs are known to cause cancer. Now, is everyone going to get cancer through EMFs? No, we know that's not true, but the mechanisms do exist, and we know that they damage the DNA. And just like you said earlier, Laura, the DNA and reactivating that and healing that is of probably the utmost importance to life on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been manipulated for so long, and this whole ascension window period has to do with overcoming that and, busting through the fences and seals and reclaiming our junk DNA, recognizing the treasure that it truly is. And so as we're entering such a critical phase of all this unbelievable next level of assault and attack is targeting us right on the verge of such a huge breakthrough that, the energies are available to facilitate the upgrading of DNA. We just have to be very careful of our choices and stay protected as much as we possibly can until these things are de-weaponized.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, the biggest, one of the biggest issues with this is how the radiation affects the brain and the electromagnetic fields within the brain and the nervous system. And you can see this white part. This is showing like a 5-year-old how much of this radiation is penetrating into the brain across the skull right here. A 10-year-old, a little bit less, adult, less, more. So it's very important, especially now for all the kids who have tablets, phones, they're sleeping with the routers on, things like that. Protecting the kids from this stuff is crucial. And, this information is getting out there, but more and more people definitely need to be aware of this and do things to protect themselves from it, and do everything that you can to raise awareness on this issue. You were going to say something about the 5G, Laura, or did you already say it?
Oh yeah, I was going to just stick a slide up there. So are you done scrolling? Because
go ahead.
Okay, all right. It's just something to read. I'll read it out loud, but, definitely go back and, check it out. Okay. This is something I wrote, but, inspired by other things that I've read along the way. I don't read a whole lot, but when Lisa Renee puts out her newsletters, I always skim through them and check them out. And we, talk on a pretty regular basis. So some of this is inspired from what she has shared as well. It's not that I don't read, but I mostly, I'm checking headlines and just kind of keeping up with, what's kind of going on in the here and now. And I'm constantly, sort of researching, but as far as like reading a book from front to back or being able to really, really dive in, I don't tend to do that. I rely on my own downloads and intuition a lot and just check in here and there. But this, something that I wrote, I just really can't wait to hear what you have to say about it, Lance. So, okay. I didn't need all that exclamation, explanation. But anyway, here we go. It is not a question about whether or not ascension is happening. It is encoded in DNA, nature, and planetary alignments and aspects. So of course it's happening. 5G represents electromagnetic radiation and being linked into it as a battery that charges up artificial timelines as an end times looking picture because it's connected with AI and how we are socially engineered or encouraged to make choices from fear or lower frequency. It siphons and harvests. Those things need purging and deprogramming and love and compassion instead of denial or judgment. Dark night of the soul and reclaiming our power starts with the mind, and then the rest follows: earth, fire, water. And the presence of ether, of course, is the major purifier right now. 5D ascension and beyond is the electromagnetic signals we create and attract based in the organic nature of ascension, which requires our connection to the truth, living our truth, being true to ourselves. Epigenetics goes in one or two kind of directions. Either programming our DNA based in the lies and deceptions, or being able to infuse it with our truth frequency, our dreams and visions for the future, right? So currently humanity is being accelerated into expanded ranges of electromagnetic frequency exposure. These are either organic signals that support biological ascension or artificial ones that block and disrupt the flow of energy in our physical bodies, which affects our DNA. Our DNA and its nucleic acids hold the elements that become polluted and damaged in the same way we see outside of ourselves. The earth responds to us. When we allow ourselves to go through the initiations, obviously we turn it around. We are being pushed to the edge. Everything that is organic is being manipulated with a bit of deception. AI and archons imitates and mimics, but can't create in a sovereign way. So all it can do is kind of trick us out of ourselves, but it can't really permanently distort, truth. It can only put a veil or cast an illusion upon it, because truth is solid. We can't really destroy our immune system. We can majorly compromise it. We can't destroy our connection with spirit, but we can certainly distract ourselves away from it. Some things are unconditional and we have access to it at all times. We can always reroute. So anyway, the growth of pathogens are connected to mind control because the mind is no longer connected with truth. And to me, this is what creates the overgrowth of the things that happen in our body, because the circulation is lacking. The ability to really process is lacking, and our capacity to heal at an accelerated level is lacking because our mind is under a control. Truth, though, it's compatible with the body. It allows for spirit and our multidimensional nature to have a house within the physical vessel, because we are a house for these greater energies. So of course, illness is going to result if our minds are locked in a distortion. So it's either the 5G or 5D, but it's up to us to connect with the right signals to facilitate the right things manifesting. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too long, and I don't know what you thought. I actually need some editing, but.
No, I think it's awesome. And I agree with all that. The AI and Archonic intrusion is deeply fascinating to me. And I've been following this story, the Gnostic story of creation. You're an expert on it, and it's really interesting. You said it exactly right. Like they can't take our truth away. They just mimic, and they can just deceive very, very well to try to spin us away from that truth. But right now what's happening clearly is the more they try to do that, the more they're waking people up, because they're forcing people into a corner, and the human spirit will only get backed so far into a corner before it unleashes. And the unleashing is happening right now.
It sure is. And the thing is, especially like with the children, I mean, the love and intensity that comes with the love a parent has for their child is the most powerful force I feel in the universe. The bond, the love, the desire to care. And of course, there are some parents that might not be up for the task. Maybe they're dealing with their own traumas or wounds, but you know, the true nature of mother-child, father-child is a bond that is beyond anything. And so the fact that our children are being so targeted, the divine rage that's going to emerge from the parents, from those that have children, from those that are just witnessing it, that to me, it's just going to light this world up in a major, major way. That fire of transmutation and transformation that might, yeah, have an element of anger and rage to it, but it's really the passion of love and being a guardian and protecting it at all costs. And I just really feel that that's the transformative fires that we're moving through is, you know, people saying, wait a second, you know, especially when it comes to the children and just their jobs and careers. And it's just unbelievable to witness what we're going through. My God. Anyway, keep going with, do you have,
Absolutely. No, it's so true. I mean, this just shows it right here, that radiation going into the kids' brains so much. Like, we have to do what we can to protect them from everything that's going on. And, you know, the EMFs certainly affect the pineal gland, the seat of the soul. We'll get into that here deeper just a little bit, but it really limits the production of melatonin and other hormones. And, you know, with sleep quality, with high EMFs in one's home, or if you're sleeping next to a phone, that is definitely going to reduce one's sleep quality because it is limiting the production of melatonin. It's diffusing a bunch of calcium into cells, which is not good. It'll change the pH of the cells, and then it will create very, very damaging free radicals. So this is, you know, really important to understand. Like, take your phone out of the bedroom at night. Turn it off if you can. If you need an alarm, set it outside of the bedroom, put it on airplane mode. Those are like free and easy ways to reduce your EMFs. Unplug the router at night. You know, unplug any sort of electrical devices in your room as much as possible, because that all affects what's going on and how we sleep. So, you know, the company that we were talking about earlier, Laura, EMF Harmonize, this is the company that I'm an owner of. And one particular technology is the disk for the cell phones. And this is based off of Nikola Tesla's scalar waves. And the scientist that is my partner, he's a former electrical engineer. He helped to actually bring out some technology relating to 2G and 3G technology. And, you know, now he's shifted things in a way where he wants to protect people from this stuff because he understands it. He understands it at a very base fundamental level of what it's doing to us physiologically. And so this is, you know, what we're doing right now. And we actually just released a few new kits. So like a work from home kit, because a lot of people working from home. So you got strips for computers, tablets, routers for your cell phone, and then a friends and family one, which is 4 cell phones, and then 4 discs for all the devices in the home.
Can I just ask you a question? I mean, what do you think about the addictive component of it? You know, when you go out and about, everybody's literally so tied in that it's like it's the most important thing in their world. Like I just even the latest travels that I've done, you know, internationally, everywhere you go, everybody's got their face in the phone. Nobody's looking at each other. Nobody's having conversations. What would you say the addictive component in the EMFs and the electronics? Because if it's unhealthy, it's surprising how many people are absolutely unable to put this stuff down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, social media is the biggest one because you're getting that dopamine hit every single time, you know, you see something new, because the brain is always looking for something new. And it's very easy to see something new on Facebook, on your feed, on your Instagram feed, because it's just post after post after post. And so that becomes addicting. And then, you know, if you're posting and you're getting likes, and I mean, most people like that, you get a little hit of dopamine. And so that feels good. And so people keep coming back for more. And it's a really good point. Like, why are they so addicting? Because yet they're so harmful and we can feel it. that dopamine is so strong, and that hook for dopamine is so strong that it will definitely override the things that we consciously know that are not good for us.
Right. And that is,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we consciously know spending 4 hours on our phone scrolling isn't good, but
stickers, it helps to mitigate. Yes.
Exactly.
And there's so much trauma. People are so confused. They're just looking for anything to make them feel better. So, but have you seen, I hope I didn't cut you off though.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Did you see that movie? And I don't really watch movies anymore, but I mean, this sometimes with the Armageddon sort of predictive programming, I just like to check in like, okay, what do they have planned here? Or
Yeah.
the one with, I think, John Cusack, and it was called 𝗨, and it had to do with like an apocalyptic Armageddon. And I know apocalyptic has more than one meaning, a better meaning, but it was a end of the world scenario that went through the phones and people started going nuts. And at the end of the movie, they were all being dragged or like a zombie trance to like a tower that looked like a 5G tower. And it was basically the end of the world, and it came through the phones. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's a real winner of a movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's clearly, I mean, the 5G aspect, that's some of that's definitely happening. Yeah, and so this is the technology, and we use these Tesla scalar waves to encode frequencies into these holograms, and then the frequencies are actually able to interact with our DNA. I mean, literally, and create physiological differences. So our physiology responds to these frequencies and then creates basically the counter effects to what's happening with EMF. So I won't play the video.
Okay, cool. Is that something that you put on the body or put on the electronics?
Yeah, this is just one for the cell phone. This is for the disc. But again, if they're within 6 feet, these frequencies will interact with any sort of biological life around it, plants, animals, humans, and we're actually able to prove that. Yeah.
While it's mitigating the EMFs from the device, it's actually interacting with our DNA in a way that's healthy. So when we have these things, we not only neutralize the harmful effects of the EMFs, it's actually doing something good for us. So that's a win-win right there. Okay. And you have a video. Awesome.
Yeah. So this right here, I'm going to play it, but I'm not going to play it all the way through. But you can see the cell, like these are red blood cells and white blood cells under dark field microscopy study. And essentially what happens through this is we can see what happens to cells when a cell phone is next to it. And then we can see what happens when our technology is applied on the cell. The cells start degrouping or decoupling again, like right here. And they're basically regaining their negative electrical charge for them to have the healthy boundaries and for them to carry oxygen, carry nutrients, and do the things that cells need to do for us to be healthy. So, this is a physiological study showing how these frequencies are actually impacting us. So it's very, very interesting information. And additionally, a research paper was just published by Cornell from this scientist who he has made the implications basically of scalar waves being brought back into the mainstream, which is really, really interesting because a lot of people might say scalar waves, it's, is it real? Is it not? But the mainstream is now starting to acknowledge it even more. So this is a very good step. And this is the exact technology that we're using, scalar wave technology.
So with all the stuff that's been rolled out that is affecting our health, and I want to be careful what terminology I use, but there's obviously clotting in the blood. There's obviously some sort of connection with the EMFs and the 5G with whatever's either being put in our body or whatever the bioweapon might be, and not just how this can neutralize the harmful aspects of what comes through our devices. Wouldn't you say that this helps to mitigate bioweaponry even? And I know that's probably a big claim to say, but just from your own assessment, it seems like it would also address that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because, well, yes, and I also have to be careful with what I say, but yes, in general. And the reason is because it is decoupling and helping these cells to regain their negative electrical charge. So when the radiation is hitting our body or around our body, it's causing these cells to group together. And so the red blood cells lose the ability to carry oxygen, just like you said. And so this technology allows the cells to decouple again and maintain their boundaries and carry oxygen and do what they need to do to support life.
So wasn't 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗏 the one with the water experiments and like the rice experiments where you would put a particular vibration or frequency into the rice? You say, I love you, rice. And then you say to the other bowl of rice, I hate you, you suck. And then you look at the rice after a week, and the one that had the negative frequencies was moldy and like breaking down and just turning black. And the other rice that got all the love vibes stayed perfectly like, I think that's really wild. I mean, because some people just, well, I don't know about some people, but I mean, frequency has more of an impact on our lives than we can imagine. And a lot of the people that I work with who have altars and have been through the MK Altar programs, they say everything is about frequency. Everything to activate a certain code or a program or an altar, it's all done through frequency, not just words or numbers or codes like that, but it's they use frequency. And so as things begin to roll out, a lot of those hidden altars and like sleeper agents are going to get activated to play a particular role in these end times. And so any way that we can neutralize those frequencies is going to help us with sort of this army that they've created that they're literally getting ready to activate. And that's probably all I should say. And I probably said too much, but anyway.
Yeah, no problem. So, we were talking about the pineal gland earlier, and we know that the Vatican knows about the pineal gland and the pine cone and what's going on with that. Something else that we offer is this pine pollen, which is right here. And this is the pollen that comes from pine trees, as you can see right here. And this pollen is one of nature's truest superfoods. It has 200 different bioactive nutrients in it that the body can use, and it's nature's highest source of phytohormones. So these are hormones that are great. They're from nature, but the body can use them, and it helps the body to support healthy levels of estrogen, healthy levels of testosterone, healthy levels of DHA. It's actually nature's highest source of DHA. And so this is quite an amazing superfood and an amazing product that we offer. Like we sought out this source, Laura. We've talked about this. We sought out this source so that we could say it's the best one out there. And I authentically stand behind that statement because of the way we're sourcing it, harvesting it with love and respect for nature. We're not over harvesting. Our extraction method is the most unique in the industry. And so this is, top of the line product. And I mean, the reviews speak for themselves, and we have a lot of people writing in that really feel the benefits, and they especially feel it with hormones, with libido, with detoxing. People know about 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 information relating to pine and detox. This is phenomenal for detoxing because it actually has bioavailable glutathione already in it. And so that will help the body detox. And then also SOD, which is another major free radical scavenger. But you can just see how beautiful and incredible this stuff is.
Wait, so that was the tincture, but did you show the picture of the powder? I had to just get up for a sec.
Yeah, no, I haven't showed the picture of the powder.
Right. Okay. So you'll be able to do that. And it breaks down the spike proteins. From what Judy says about pine needled pine product, pine.
Yeah, Judy talked about a lot of different things. This pine pollen, again, 200 different bioactive nutrients in it. Just phenomenal stuff. Yeah, here's the photo of the powder. We have a lot more coming in soon. We've got a lot in stock right now of the pine pollen tincture. They do sell out very, very fast, and I'm not even just saying that. They really do fly. So if someone's interested, now is definitely a good time to do it. And we've got Laura's links down in her description as well. So yeah, I mean, these pine products are top notch, and we're really happy to be offering them right now because pine is, you know, it's the people's medicine, and it's the people's source for a lot of good things, and a lot of things going on right now that we want to counter. The pine tree can really help us in a lot of different ways.
So what I love about nature, it's like pine, pineal, and then just the shape of things, or like the shape of a walnut, or the shape of different types of fruits, and how it corresponds with the beneficial healing properties that it come with, and how it relates to either something in our endocrine system, our organs, our nerve. I mean, it's just the most fascinating thing ever.
Exactly. It is. It's amazing. I mean, you just look at all this information, and I mean, we have a great product description, and we want to put a lot of information in there, but there's still so much more out there. Yeah.
I just want to say, from what I've learned about the glutathione, there are a lot of different supplements that have it, but it doesn't go very far because of the stomach acids. It's one of the more difficult antioxidants to get into the system without it being majorly broken down. So the word bioavailable is such a key word, because we can spend a lot of money on supplements and pop them every day, and they might not do anything. And I remember when I was taking turmeric products, that's when I really, really learned about the difference of quality, and it has to say this, and there's particular things that need to be included for it to even be worth it, or else you're just popping nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with this tincture, it does become directly bioavailable instantly, gets into the bloodstream, and all those nutrients start flowing and circulating throughout.
It's like ginger and like black pepper are important additions that a lot of people put into supplements to increase bioavailability. And this is what's like, this is so interesting. How many fluid ounces is this particular bottle?
3.3.
I can't think of how big that is, but
it's about, I don't have one with me here at the moment, but it's about probably 4 inches high.
So what's so funny, and you know how some people just like have a habit of buying tons of shoes, or they have this thing where they just can't stop collecting like something, or they just have you know, a big treat to go to the mall and just buy a bunch of nail polish. This is how I am with supplements and health food stores. I'm just like, if I have the money, I'm just like, yes. And then I get the boxes in the mail, and I keep reading all the ingredients that I'm putting in my body. And my whole bathroom literally looks like a apothecary, like high vibe pharmacy. It's my favorite thing to spend money on. And I know the money thing is difficult for people, but you know, I'm not sitting on a lot myself, but it's always worth it. I save up for this kind of thing. It's the best thing. There's no greater gift we can give to ourselves than good health.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can buy all sorts of treasures at a thrift store. Why spend hundreds of dollars on clothes anyway, or any of this stuff? But that's just me.
Yeah, totally. I agree. This is what gets me excited too. I love going in health food stores, seeing what's new and seeing what new things I can learn about.
Yeah, and I think I last interview or two that we did together, my background is in nutrition. In the early 90s, when I was in my early 20s, I ran a shipping and delivery company that was called Living Earth, and it was for chemically sensitive people. I drove a delivery truck. I shipped things all over the country for people who had been damaged or immune compromised by things like pesticides and herbicides, and or just any sort of illness. But some of them couldn't handle certain things that other people could as far as the packaging. So I had to have their names on a board where, okay, this client can only handle brown paper. This client can't have brown paper, only blue, you know, and it was like so much pressure. Like if I screwed up, I could literally, sorry, I just had to tell that story, but I've been in this field for a long time. I mean, the world of nutrition and supplements and herbs and organic produce and all this kind of stuff. It was before Whole Foods, and people just thought I'm like, how can you think that that's wacky though? I can understand some stuff, but
Yeah, unreal.
so
I know.
this is why I just love talking about your products. I'm not just coming from a place of, oh yeah, whatever Lance says. I have a lot of experience in this field. And so this is really bringing me back to center of something that's always been so deeply important to me. I just had to say that.
Thank you. That's really awesome.
So where are we headed next? So that is an article that is going to be, that's the article we are going to put on my website, right? That people can access on your website. So I'm going to post it on my website on Monday, and you'll be able to find it on the homepage. I'm actually dedicating a page to Ascent Nutrition and the EMF Harmonizer on my website, and that should be ready to view end of the day on Monday. So keep going with what you're sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, Laura. I think we touched on it all. Just kind of recap: Ascent Nutrition, the pine pollen products. They're truly top notch, and I mean, you know, I know it's easy for people to maybe think that I'm just saying that because I'm the owner and I'm obviously promoting these products. But again, we went after this source so that we could authentically state that it's the purest out there and it's the most high vibe out there, and that's truly what I believe. And then the EMF technology. So this will help protect from the effects of EMF radiation. And Laura's links are down below, but you can see this is the website. We've got several different products relating to pain, wristband as well. And then some bundles that if you've got a family and you want to protect all the devices in the home, these are good fits. And then the pine pollen right here. You can find all of these on Laura's links below. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what I want to share. Laura, what do you want to wrap up with?
Well, I just want to say that somebody who has been as dedicated to truth as you and who has been exposed to so much of it with just all the work that you've done before you jumped into these companies. I mean, you're not just selling products to sell products. I mean, the whole intention behind doing this on the level that you're doing it is because it's based in truth, nutrition, and how it's going to serve us in these times. And I really just believe in you so much. And I've had these products and they are absolutely highest quality. But yeah, I mean, this is what I, love about you and this company is that foundational piece is about truth and integrity, and getting people the things that they need in these crazy times. And getting to know somebody and really knowing somebody who owns a company is a lot different than just blindly purchasing something when you really, really don't know the people, behind it. Because there's a lot of deception, and even sometimes on products that they might say is organic, but actually isn't. So it's nice that people get a familiarity with you and that you are, on camera talking about it and writing articles and educating people, and really appreciate you. And I know they've made a huge difference in my life, and there are so many different kinds of products. So enjoy looking at that website. Some people have shared concern though, that if they take something, the body weight or needing to know how much to take. I mean, do you guys have on the label sort of recommended dosage? Because I don't know why that person said that. I don't know if they had ordered anything or.
Yeah, we do have recommended dosages on every product. It's not going to be based on body weight. I mean, that would just, we couldn't do that actually. That would be,
I don't know who does that actually, but
yeah. We wouldn't be able to put that on the label for multiple reasons. But no, I mean, they can write us in at our website, and we will definitely answer any questions that we can. But that's how I can best answer that.
Well, that's awesome. And between the EMF protection and the nutritional support and just being dedicated to truth, this is what integration of all these different aspects of our beingness is all about. We have to take care of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And if we don't have the physical taken care of, it doesn't matter how spiritual we are. It's very hard for our higher energies and higher self to occupy the physical body if there's too much toxicity and there's too much, stuff compromising the physical.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. There are, sick, ill, disabled people. That doesn't take away from who they are as a spiritual person. But if we want to heal and be able to occupy this physical vessel, there are all these kind of incredible ways to make our physical body hospitable to the greatest aspects of ourself. And we need to do that. And if we don't, it's okay. We're infinite beings and we're here to learn and grow and figure it out maybe next time. We're unwinding from not just human error, we're unwinding from lies and deceptions and things hiding behind the scenes that are horrific, that are crimes that most people can't wrap their head around. So we got to cut each other a lot of slack, love ourselves, take care of ourselves, take care of each other, support each other, live in the highest integrity, and choose love over all things, and knock out these programs like Divide and Conquer, and know that the mechanism of things like 5G is to deliver mind control. We de-weaponize things through breaking the mind control and staying in alignment with truth. And that is going to add to the collective and encourage the solutions to come in, because nothing's going to come and save the day. We have to step up to the plate. It's up to us to be the shift and to hold hands and support one another and laugh when we can.
Absolutely.
Any final words for you? That was, I guess, my final thing.
I can't top that. So I'll just say thank you, Laura. And I echo everything you say, and truth and love wins.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lance. I really appreciate you and all your work. And wow, I look forward to doing this again. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and definitely check this stuff out. And yeah, we got this. I really feel that. All right. Much love, everybody.